Hello Charlie, it's Mike. Just getting back to you again, as you asked to. I've actually signed up to your videos. You're obviously very passionate about the things that you're expressing, and rightly so. I heard that the program was on the Panorama program about the ADHD medication. I didn't watch it. I would flag up a little bit of caution. I was an international sales manager. I'll point out I'm 44 later in December. I was an international sales manager for a publishing company for a number of years. I worked with a lot of journalists, and I know that a lot of the time journalists are up for the story, up for the scandal, and sometimes it's not always, 100% accurate. You seem to be an intelligent lad, and you probably know very well the saying that you should not read everything you read in the papers. Well, you should not believe everything you see on the telly or see on the internet either. Not to dispel, a lot of what you're telling me they've said about that particular medication, but I'd like to widen the chat a little bit from that. I think the danger with programs like that Panorama program, but not only that, but also the danger of all this health information that keeps coming out of the government all the time. You can't eat this, you can't have that, this gives you cancer, that gives you cancer. You can't drink this, you can't drink that. Not only does it drive us all nuts, it's counterproductive, because people just think, they say you can't eat anything, whereas some quite important messages may just be lost because people are sick of the overload. There's an important area, and that this is affecting, I believe, and that is the trust between a patient and his GP or her GP. The MMR vaccine is a classic example. The media got a hold of this story that MMR caused autism. That led to millions of mothers deciding not to have their children vaccinated, which also led to a number of extra, very serious attacks of illness on people with measles and mumps, and the kids were not protected against it, and these diseases, if not vaccinated against, can be fatal. Later on, it was proved that all the supposed medical expertise proving the MMR to be dangerous and the cause of autism was completely discredited. Therefore, all those people who decided that the MMR was bad for their children were wrongly pointed in the direction of deciding not to vaccinate them, or vaccinating against each disease individually, which potentially left gaps, and the children open to infection. It's important that individuals should be encouraged to respect their doctors and to respect his expertise, and I think that the media and the newspapers, well, the media is the newspapers and the news programs and the government have a lot to answer for in terms of discrediting their doctors and encouraging self-medication, giving people a little bit of knowledge. And as someone once said, a little bit of knowledge is a very dangerous thing. It's vital that people trust their doctors. Not everybody, I would admit, are as lucky as I am in that my GP is very highly trained to a higher level than most GPs in a number of areas, and he keeps right up to date with all the latest health education and the latest dietary fads, what's right and what's wrong, the latest pros and cons of medication, all this sort of thing. Not every doctor does keep up with it. They should do, but not everyone does. But it's vital that people do trust their doctors. The MMR vaccine was a classic example. The fact that the media, and particularly the television, people came on and said, oh, you shouldn't have the MMR vaccine because it causes autism. The fact of the matter was that thousands and thousands of mothers decided not to have their children vaccinated but with the MMR vaccine, and to go and have them vaccinated separately. The problem with the separate vaccines for measles, mumps and rubella was that when you have one, you can't have the other one necessarily immediately afterwards, leaving gaps for potential infection, which did lead to an increase in the number of children with these diseases. And they can be fatal in young children because your immunity is not fully developed till you're 6 or 7 years old. This alleged research into MMR, alleging it to be a cause of autism, was later completely discredited. So all those mothers who thought they were doing right by their children by not using the MMR were wrong. I'm not saying that this is the case with the ADHD medication that you speak of, but I'm urging you to be cautious. I'm 44, and as a former international sales manager for a publishing company, I have worked with many journalists, and I know that many of them are anxious to get a big story and to get their name in lights for the furtherment of their careers. They don't all do it, but it does happen, particularly in television. And I think it's very important. Just like the newspapers, everybody says you shouldn't believe everything you read in the newspapers. Neither should you believe everything that you see on the television or on the internet. So I would urge caution. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing. The sooner the government stops telling everybody that they should be eating this and shouldn't be eating that and shouldn't be eating the other, shouldn't be this weight, should be that weight, the sooner people stop that and just talk to their GPs, the healthier everyone will be. I think you're actually quite a courageous young man coming on there with Tourette's. Good for you, I say. What I will do is I will also write a little reply